6 p.m. in Boya, chief town of the southwest region of Cameroon, same time in Bamenda. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining me and our major stories tonight. The Sinomat supermarket in Yaoundé has been sealed by administrative authorities following a tense protest this Tuesday morning. The demonstration was sparked by widespread outrage over a viral video showing a Cameroonian man being brutally assaulted by a uniformed officer in a Chinese-owned supermarket. On the scene, authorities called for calm while assuring angry protesters that investigations. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television with me, Immaculate Fogwe. We'll begin our major stories tonight. Residents of Douala 4 subdivision were once again concerned about the piles of garbage that are invading their roads. Despite the partnership signed between the Douala 4 Council and also private company for waste collection, little appears to have changed, leaving residents really frustrated. We have details with Cedric Chakutio.
For the past months, some neighborhoods in the Douala 4 subdivision are now considered by some inhabitants of the area as a dump site of the economic capital. We are at the Sapper runabout, precisely in the Douala 4 subdivision, Bonaberi, where a road where buses used to drop their passengers is now occupied by dirt, which unfortunately causes a lot of accidents according to the inhabitants of this locality.
This is a former place that the taxi, the trucks, and they come and drop people there so that they should go to their various houses, but now there's no way to come and park. And when you come to park along the roadside, those council people just come and carry you away, that you're not supposed to park there. Why the park place that they're supposed to park, they have occupied it with dirty.
On the same stretch of road, but in another neighborhood, the garbage situation is critical, characterized by mounds of waste that invade the roadway.
Every day the dirt is there, so we don't know what we can say. Every day, every place is dirty, every place is dirty.
Here, we are at Kotoba's cemetery. This dump obstructs traffic and poses serious hygiene problems. This waste has been here for years. It even causes traffic and accidents. We have been told it's going to be removed, but nothing has happened. Here we are in 2026 and still nothing. The smell is unbearable. We can't even breathe. It's like this every single day. They'll take at least 3 weeks to remove it. In the meantime, what are we supposed to do? We're forced to live with it. This time around, we are at Entrée Matango, now a place that inhabitants call Entrée Poubelle. Why? You just can see behind me because of the pile of garbage which has been here for more than months. You see mosquitoes everywhere. Here we have nicknamed it the garbage entrance. It's no longer the Matango entrance. Although announcements of transfer centers have been made in the past to improve collection, the Mabanda neighborhood continues to face chronic unsanitary conditions. To some inhabitants, the situation results from a halt and failure in household waste collection. However, the new company in charge of the collection of this garbage express difficulties they have in achieving their task.
The main reason is the distance with the garbage area found at the Génie Militaire Picardis. We have to cross the town and that's almost 15 to 20 kilometers with the traffic and all the difficulty we have. So at times we have to pick a dust from Bonaberi, let's say 4 étages. The time I have Génie Militaire is almost 2 to 3 hours. So there's a difficulty at the operational level for us to arrive at the garbage point that's at Génie Militaire. And also we have the administrative procedure of the company. At the level of the transit and custom section, we have trucks that have arrived, but we have to finalize the administrative procedure linked to the entry into possession of the truck. So all that into process.
From Sapper runabout till here in Mabanda, Bonaberi is obviously dirty, a situation where inhabitants are asking for a solution. Reporting from Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision, we are Jires Yopa and Cedric Chakutio.
Thanks a bunch, Cedric Chakutio, for that report on what the situation as far as garbage collection is in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision. And from Bonaberi, we now move to a locality known as Dikuma village. It's found in Banga subdivision, where inhabitants of this area say they have been neglected by top government officials. Dikuma village, which used to be an important village during the era of the German administration in Cameroon, is today abandoned by its natives because it lacks social amenities, and the construction of a modern health center in Dikuma village via the Banga Council has been seen as a step to bring back natives of Dikuma 1 and 2 village. Details with Smart Chikan Gabriel.
Dikuma 1 and 2 was some years back an important village during the reign of the Germans in Cameroon. Today, the village has become a shadow of itself, lacking in social amenities, amongst them electricity with all cables on the ground and no water. For this reason, the two villages have been ghosted by its inhabitants, leaving just few behind. It was a province that was booming during the reign of the Germans. Every July 14, there was a march past year. We are begging the government to try to help the mayor because we have boreholes which used to serve the people, but now no water is flowing. Cables are falling everywhere, and because of the dark, we are all gone. An inhabitant of Dikuma village says if power is re-established, those who have gone will come back. We are begging that the government should intervene so that our children should return to the village. Without electricity, nothing can move. The kids can't study. If there was power, children would have been here. So we beg the government to help the mayor to fix things. Even without electricity, the Banga Council has erected a health center which is geared at charming the natives of Dikuma to return home, and also there is the rehabilitation of a road which has been a thorn on the flesh of the people of Dikuma. I have started with the hospital after the president sent money that people shouldn't suffer to leave the village to come to town. This year we are trying to fix the road, and next year maybe we tackle water and electricity problems. The people of Dikuma village are now hoping that with the recent works ongoing, the council will also bring back electricity.
Now to one of our major stories of tonight's newscast. After 25 years of private control and mounting public anger, Cameroon has taken back its power, literally. On May 4, 2026, President Paul Biya signed a decree scrapping a new and creating a new state utility known as Socadel, that is the Cameroon Electricity Company. But what has been the situation of electricity production and also distribution in Cameroon to this date? Answers in this report done by Fomi Armstrong Sandbell.
The move ends a troubled chapter that began in 2001 when state-owned Sonel was privatized as AES Sonel, later rebranded Inyo under British Fund Actis in 2014. But the promise of private efficiency collapsed into crisis. Businesses endured 6 to 8 hours daily blackouts. The grid was overloaded in cities like Douala and Yaoundé. Distribution losses toppled 15% due to fraud and decay. Financially, Inyo drowned. Frozen tariffs and unpaid state bills left it losing money, with debt hitting 800 billion francs CFA by 2024. It owed suppliers over 500 billion francs CFA. Key plants like Kribi and Dibamba shut down, wiping out 30% of the terminal capacity. The breaking point came after President Paul Biya's re-election. On November 19, 2025, the state bought back Actis' 51% stake for 78 billion francs CFA, raising state control to 95%. Socadel now inherits a new staff, assets and its massive debts. With 43.9 billion francs in capital, it faces a brutal match problem, 30 billion in monthly revenue versus 50 billion in commitments. The state of Cameroon says it may reopen capital to private investors later. But for now, Cameroonians have a single question: if state control will finally keep the lights on.
And now we talk health. In Cameroon, an estimated 600,000 people live with visual impairment, while recent figures from the World Health Organization suggest that nearly 16% of the population is living with some form of disability. Among them, many women face heightened exposure to various forms of violence, and in response, the Ministry of Social Affairs has launched targeted support initiatives, creating social platforms to help these women better understand their rights and equally know when and how to seek assistance. More with Laure Manero.
Jaco Giselle's life changed forever at the age of 18 when a car accident took her sight. Since then, she has navigated a world that is frequently hostile.
Parfois, je vais même me renseigner quelque part. Je viens même comme ça, je veux juste le renseignement. Non, j'ai pas l'argent à te donner. Si je viens comme ça, peut-être, bon, j'ai même ma marchandise que je vais te proposer, je vais proposer. Non, vous étiez ici, je vous ai donné l'argent. Je dis, moi, madame, ou bien moi, monsieur, vous m'avez bien regardé. Non.
Despite facing multiple forms of violence, Giselle refused to be a victim. Sharing this heavy burden, another victim is Yongo Karine. Currently living with paralysis and gradually losing her eyesight, Karine has also been a target of abuse.
Parfois à 23h minuit sur la route avec mon état, il faut que j'emprunte la moto. Quand j'emprunte la moto, les gens refusent même parfois de m'aider. Il faut que je supplie, j'appelle peut-être les enfants de la rue, là, je les donne 500, ils me demandent la main, tu vas nous payer d'abord, encore on va te porter. Je paye les gens sur la route pour qu'on me mette sur la route.
Her story highlights a disturbing trait, the increased vulnerability of women whose physical limitations are used against them. To tackle this crisis, Dr. Coco Bertin, an expert in inclusive development, joined forces with the government bodies to host a landmark seminar. Under the theme, the role of the state in the prevention and management of violence against women with disabilities, the event provided a space of healing and strategic planning.
To organize this activity to sensitize the women with disabilities and also the different stakeholders. We want to draw their attention on what can be done to protect women with disabilities.
The seminar concluded with a set of proposed measures to ensure legal protections and social safety net. For Giselle, Karine, and thousands like them, the message is clear. Disability is not a green light for violence, and the state is finally stepping up to ensure their protection.
And now to our main story of the day. Angry residents stormed the Chinese-owned Sinomart supermarket in Yaoundé this Tuesday, forcing its closure after disturbing images of a worker being flogged circulated widely on social media. Tensions eased following the arrival of Labour and Social Security Minister Griwawona, who assured the crowd that those responsible will face justice. Details with Innocent Aze.
The Minister of Labour and Social Security rushed to the Elik-Ezwa neighborhood on Tuesday, May 5, where furious residents had stormed the area and forced the closure of the Chinese-owned supermarket Sinomart, demanding justice over the shocking incident.
Nous ne sommes pas discrètement. On réclame juste préjudice, justice.
The now-viral footage shows a young Cameroonian employee being mercilessly whipped by a fellow national, reportedly in the context of workplace discipline. The images have sparked nationwide outrage, with many describing the act as degrading and unacceptable. Upon arrival, Minister Griwawona moved to calm tension and reassure the population, insisting that the government would not tolerate any form of abuse against workers. He emphasized that it is not the business itself that must be protected, but the dignity and safety of those who work within it.
Les coupables seront sévèrement punis.
All of those responsible for this act of torture will be severely punished. I urge you to remain calm and allow a serene atmosphere to prevail around this workplace. It is not the business we seek to protect, but the dignity of work and the safety of workers.
Et les travailleurs.
However, Snow mart remained locked throughout the day with no visible management on the site, further deepening public concern. Authorities say investigations are ongoing with 3 individuals already arrested in connection with the incident. Investigations are ongoing and 3 individuals have already been arrested as we await the outcome of the inquiry. The minister has also called on the employers who have been absent since the event to present themselves before the authorities without delay. I have also called on the employers who disappeared since the incident to come and meet us. As calm gradually returns, public attention now turns to the outcome of the investigation and whether justice will be swiftly served.
And the same vein, reactions continue to pour in across Cameroon and beyond following the circulation of a disturbing video showing a Cameroonian employee being severely tortured by a security officer at a Chinese-owned supermarket in Yaoundé. Civil society groups, including United for Cameroon and the Cameroonian Association of Chinese Language Interpreters and Translators, have strongly condemned in stronger terms the act and are calling for accountability. Malaglory brings us their reactions in this report.
In 2 separate communiques, they strongly denounced the act committed by a Cameroonian on another fellow Cameroonian citizen. This is after a video went viral on social media showing a man violently beaten with whips in a Chinese supermarket situated in a Ligejua neighborhood in Yaoundé. United for Cameroon, a non-profit solidarity organization composed primarily of Cameroonians living abroad with main objective to promote human rights in Cameroon, have severely condemned this act of incredible barbarity which deeply undermines the dignity of Cameroonian citizens. They believe it is an opportunity to call on the government to urgently put an end to the degrading treatment against a backdrop of corruption reserved for Cameroonian citizens in a situation of conflict with nationals of other countries residing on the national territory. They further that this act undermines the peaceful relationship between both countries. United for Cameroon now call for an investigation and an end to such violence, which they say it's a serious blow to Cameroon's international commitment in the fight against torture. Another release from the Cameroonian Association of Chinese Language Interpreter Translators, AKUHMBOM, expressed indignation over such act, disassociating themselves from the act committed by an interpreter involved in the incident, which they say goes against the fundamental principles, ethics and human dignity which they promote. AKUHMBOM now calls on stakeholders involved to demonstrate responsibility and to ensure that such behavior ends in Cameroon. In the time of this report, the Sino market where the incident took place was blocked by a huge crowd demanding justice, and hours later, the supermarket was closed temporarily following orders from the authorities.
Malaglory reporting there. And as a practical session of the General Certificate of Education GC commences today, tensions hit Ako Town in Dongamantum division of the Northwest region this morning as parents and equally students staged a massive demonstration demanding the return of GC examination centers to Ako subdivision. Protesters say they will no longer travel to Kambe to write the GC. For over 5 years, Ako candidates have been relocated to Kambe for the exams due to security concerns, forcing families to bear extra transport, lodging, and equally feeding. Parents say the situation is unfair and risks especially for girl children. We have details with Fomi Armstrong Sander.
Give us our examination center. Ako no longer writing in Kambe is the key message from Ako Town in Ako subdivision, Donga Mountain division of the Northwest region of Cameroon. In a peaceful demonstration of grief, students, GCE candidates, parents and traditional leaders of Ako say that they want their kids to sit for the General Certificate of Education GC examination in Ako to spare them from hardship and the high cost of transportation to Kambe.
begin to run here for machine for go Campbell. Where we'll get that transport, where we'll get that means. Now we'll cry for all the children. So maybe look inside, maybe board may come up.
At the esplanade of the DO's office in Akko, parents question why only Akko sits for the GC in Kambe in the whole of Donga Mountain Division.
Why does Mr. Jeno?
The examination centers in Akko were moved to Kambe, chief town of the Donga Mountain Division, for security threat in 2020 in the heat of the Anglophone crisis, and for 5 years, GC candidates of Akko have had to go through the hurdles of bad roads, paying 15,000 francs CFA each to sit for the examination in Kambe under an extremely cold climate opposed to the warm climate of Akko subdivision.
They come out because they know why they come out. What we did and I say, one, the whole of Donga Mountain, now only Akko they move. All right, GC from Kambe.
This situation is very serious, and we wonder why only Akko in the whole of Donga Mountain Division. Parents are unable to pay 15,000 francs for their kids to reach Kambe, and with the climatic differences, they even fall sick while in Kambe.
They come out don't even right, change of climate. So what the papa don't even be viable for pay the transport 15,000 for me then go from Kambe they pay rent.
Parents, kids and teachers in Akko see the security excuse as not only a thing of the past, but also contradictory to the fact that they all studied in Akko subdivision for 9 months with no security incidents. Moreover, other public examinations like the first school living certificate and common interest examinations are taken in Akko subdivision hitch-free.
We need our center.
In response, the administration of Akko subdivision promised to channel the worries of the people to the right quarters with high hopes to save Akko candidate this year and encourage education in the subdivision.
And that's it for this first part of the news. Talking Point comes up next. Human rights violations in Cameroon arrive. How did we get here? And what's the way out? That's what we are going to be asking a civil society actor who goes by the name Marc-Anthony AKUHMBOM. Good evening. It's a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight. What was your immediate reaction to the viral video showing the alleged mistreatment of a Cameroonian by another Cameroonian in a supermarket owned by a Chinese person?
Good evening, Immaculate Fogwe. Good evening again to Cameroonians watching. Thank you for receiving me on your platform. I am actually disappointed. That's one of the first things I'm going to say. Very, very disappointed with the manner in which we are treated in our own country, and our government is practically doing nothing. It's not the first case, it's not the second, it's not the last. I'm sure others will come. We have gone back into slavery. I remember when I used to watch films on how Africans were enslaved, and I would see the way they were beaten like animals. They were not considered to be humans. That's the same thing that happened the other day. And one thing that struck my mind was not the fact that the guy was being beaten, but the fact that he was beaten by another black man. That's the thing. We say he's a Chinese, yes. It's a Chinese supermarket. Yes, the boss was behind the beating. But whose hand did they use to beat the boy? Was the privileged slave master. The privileged slave, whom because of a handful of food that he can feed himself with, he chooses to act with impunity against his own fellow Cameroonian. Got him beaten like he was not a human being. That is terrible. Very, very dangerous.
And now, Prof, this incident comes just a day after Labour Day celebrations in Cameroon and across the world. What does this say about the reality of workers' rights in this country?
Yeah, the situation happened after Labour Day. Wow. Can you imagine that? Immediately after Labour Day. You see, I made a post on Facebook that was on Labour Day, the 1st, that was Friday. Made a post trying to educate Cameroonians on what Labour Day is all about. Because we have transformed Labour Day in Cameroon to be a day full of festivities. That's a day a lot of people go drinking, dancing, celebrating. I don't know what they are celebrating. So I wrote that post. You can find it on my Facebook page. Trying to educate Cameroonians to know that it is a day we should reflect on our rights as workers. We should reflect on the equality in the workplace. It's not because you have a boss that the boss should think he's bigger than you in any way. Because each one of us contribute towards the growth of the business or the company or whatsoever you are doing. So it is important that we each know our rights. And it's funny because I think this is one of the things that civil society organizations need to be doing. They need to take time to educate Cameroonians on what Labour Day actually means. We need to be educating Cameroonians. Labour Day is not for feasting. It's not a festive day. It's not a day to celebrate. No. What are we celebrating? Yes, you might sit in your home and say, okay, I've been working. If your work environment is good, favorable, nice, yes, it's good. You can now celebrate and say, no, I've been doing well and I think my company has been well, doing good for me, so I need to do something. Celebrate. It's nice. But what of the case where people have been maltreated? That's the day you take that opportunity to openly protest.
The supermarket where this despicable act occurred was reportedly operating normally, that is yesterday and today, and it took the intervention of some angry Cameroonians to storm that supermarket this morning, demanding that their doors should be shut. Also, the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Wuna, who arrived shortly after the protest, told Cameroonians that the problem is not about shutting the supermarket, but ensuring that all those involved be punished accordingly. Do you think the government is playing its role adequately?
The fact that after this incident happened and the supermarket went on doing business as usual, nothing happened, and the government allowed it, it's an indicator. That is an indicator. And it is until when Cameroonians, the citizens, based on anger, went down to close the place, that the government came in, the minister stepped in. For that, we also appreciate him. At least he came in, he stepped in. But that is not what the government usually does, and that's not what we expected. You don't wait that the crowd should go down to close the place before you come to close it. And he didn't come to close it, he came to beg them to not close the place. They should allow it for the sake of the jobs of others. Yeah, which means nothing happened. If the person died after that beating, I don't know the case, I don't know if some bones were broken from his body. What if it was all the workers? What if that is what has been happening to all the workers in that place? What kind of investigation did they open? We need to get to all this sincerely.
Anthony, in a report done yesterday by Staff Lady Anna Bila, and we had Dr. Barrister Kamwa Limen, who said such acts are punishable by law. Such acts are punishable by law, but do you think these laws are effectively being enforced in the context of Cameroon?
You see, we like declaring, especially our ministers, that Cameroon is a law nation. It's a nation of law. Yes, it's a nation of law. But what is despicable about the issue, about the situation, is that yes, it is a nation of law, but laws are selectively enforced. Laws are selectively enforced. It depends on who is concerned that these laws are enforced, which is wrong, because laws are supposed to be enforced equally, whosoever it might be. The situation in Cameroon is getting out of hands because Cameroonians cannot be suffering in the hands of foreigners, and our government does nothing. They don't respect our laws. The government does nothing. Then what kind of law enforcement are we talking about here? So I think that the government of Cameroon needs to visit this issue, bring it back to the table. This is not the first case in Cameroon. Cameroonians have been beaten by foreigners in different, especially the Chinese and the Lebanese, in their different companies. I remember a case in Douala where a Lebanese removed a gun, threatening to shoot a worker under him. These things are very, 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 very hurtful and heard of. Those are things that the government should immediately come in. But nothing happened. And nothing is happening. Our laws need to be fully enforced to maintain order, whether it is to foreigners or to citizens.
So much, Professor Mark Anthony AKUHMBOM, and we are hoping that those arrested in connection to that crime will have to pay accordingly. And that's how we saw it on tonight's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Stay in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.